Welcome to the College Football Bros podcast. I am Michael Newman, and I'm joined by the brother who's the next Mr. Beast.
Oh, sure. Me, Ryan Newman.
And by the other brother who's the next PewDiePie.
Sure, that's me, Trey Newman.
And I give that intro because, as we mentioned last week, in addition to the weekly podcast, we are now releasing some short bonus episodes on YouTube. Last week, our video on Auburn is currently at 7,000 views, which was pretty crazy. Just our first kind of
not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. So yeah, we're going to be releasing several videos in this next week leading up to the playoff. So we'd really appreciate your support there. If you haven't already, search College Football Bros on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and then as our videos come out in the next week, watch them, comment, give it a thumbs up. All that stuff helps the YouTube algorithm show it to other people. So that would be great. We're putting a lot of work into these videos, so
yeah.
A lot of prep, but
a lot of prep so far this week.
So you can also check out our sponsor.
That's right, and that is myfrontpagestory.com. So if you haven't already heard about My Front Page Story, it's one of the most unique gifts you can give. And at this point, you might be past Christmas, but it's still a perfect gift for Valentine's Day coming up, or for a birthday, for some loved one. But what it is, the premise behind it is you talk to a professional writer for 10 to 15 minutes, and they write what looks like a front page story of a newspaper. They're going to write that story about them after you speak to this writer. They frame it. It's a keepsake for someone. If you want to give it to a grandparent, a loved one, like I mentioned, maybe Valentine's Day, your significant other. Generally, and more often than not, it's emotional for them when they do receive it. You'll hear comments back, "I can't thank you enough," and it's just something fun to look at over the years and a good keepsake. So, bottom line, it brings a lot of joy. If you use the promo code BROS20, you'll get 20% off. So again, that's myfrontpagestory.com, BROS20, and get your own front page story.
All right, let's get to. We've got a lot to get to today. We'll start with a brief recap of championship week. So we'll go through all 10 conferences here. Start us out with the ACC, Ryan.
Yeah, I'll keep this one brief as well. The ACC, wow, that was not a game. Notre Dame was up 3-0 early, and then Clemson had 34 unanswered points. Trevor Lawrence was awesome. Travis Etienne was awesome. Notre Dame just couldn't compete with this one, not with the guys coming back that did not play in the first matchup. Of course, Trevor Lawrence being the main one, even though Uiagalelei was incredible. But domination here from Clemson. Not much else to say.
All right, Big Ten championship. This was competitive for most of the game. Ohio State ended up beating Northwestern with a late touchdown to kind of put it away, 22-10. And we thought the offense was the sure thing for Ohio State this year, but Northwestern's defense forced Justin Fields into the worst game of his career, worse than the Indiana game a few weeks ago. Under 50% completions, no touchdowns, 2 picks. He also hurt his thumb in the second half of the game, so that could be a concern moving forward into the playoff. But Trey Sermon was luckily a beast. 29 carries, 331 yards, and Northwestern's offense just could never extend their lead.
Where was that Sermon all year?
I don't know.
Yeah. All right, now to the Big 12 championship. Oklahoma prevailed. It was an eventful game. Matt Campbell, he's been rumored for other jobs, and it almost turned out where that school was not only going to have to pay a buyout, but maybe pay bail, because it looked like he was going to murder a ref. He was livid on the sidelines, but in the game, it looked like the Sooners were going to run away early. They were up 17-0. They really could do no wrong. Defense was playing strong. Iowa State really couldn't get out of their own way. Purdy, he threw a pick in the end zone while they were trying to come back. But then the second half, the field kind of tilted towards Iowa State. Breece Hall was running well, even though he was held to a season low, which is impressive by Oklahoma. But he had a couple scores. He narrowed the gap to the 3, and Iowa State got the ball back with a chance to drive down the field and win. But Purdy kind of threw up a prayer on 3rd and long, and the Sooners
didn't need to
picked
do
it off. He didn't. He forced it, but I can kind of understand why. But it was still.
He saw the guy kind of running free towards the back of the end zone. He just couldn't get enough on it.
Yeah.
And you got 2 plays left, you know, it was gonna be 4th down, so.
Yeah, he had to make a play, but
It was a bad
overall,
looking throw is all that happened.
yeah, it was. Overall, he didn't play all that great, but overall, the Sooners, they're clearly a much better team now than they were, the first half of the year. So it's impressive. Big 12
defense.
champions.
Alex Grinch done a good job with the defense.
If they would have just not lost to K-State, were they in the playoff?
That's a good question.
Notre Dame.
I mean, Notre Dame has the better win, I guess, but
yeah, probably still.
Let's not have. It's tough enough to have the real argument. Let's not make up arguments here.
All right, let's go to the Pac-12 game here. This was an ugly game. It wasn't a very clean one between Oregon and USC. Oregon did end up winning 31-24. Keaton Slovis struggled mightily, especially early in that game. Just threw a couple of picks that were just very ill-advised throws. The last one he threw really hurt. Obviously, they were in the fourth quarter driving, and then they were trying to tie it, and it just not a good pass.
Thought it was going to be another USC fourth quarter comeback.
I know, it was setting up for it. It really was. No, and it was too bad for SC because SC's defense played well. They pretty much shut Oregon down. Oregon just had 243 total yards, so they struggled to pass. The SC's D was good, but Oregon was just able to take advantage of those turnovers, and Oregon was lucky, of course, to be in the game since UW was not able to go due to COVID. So, but Oregon wins. They win the Pac-12 again, and they're going to a New Year's Six bowl.
All right, let's get to the SEC championship. Florida was behind the whole game, but they hung in there. They stayed in the game, ended up losing 52-46. And this game was obviously all offense. All the stars were great. Mac Jones, Najee Harris, Devonta Smith for Alabama, Kyle Trask, Kyle Pitts, and Kadarius Toney for Florida. But Florida could have won this game had Dan Mullen not taken one of the worst timeouts. I mean, maybe the worst timeout of this year, at least. So Florida was down 14 with just over 2 minutes. They scored a touchdown to go down 8, which, of course, the new age of analytics, you go for it down by 8. You go for 2, down by 8 late in the game. So that was the right decision to go for 2. But he called a timeout before it, which is just, it was horrible because it almost killed their chances of winning because
they have to get the onside kick.
They had to get the onside kick because they didn't get the onside kick. And with only, I think, one timeout left, Alabama was able to run out the clock down to the point where Florida got it back with 26 seconds left in their own territory. It was just like the game was pretty much over.
They could have had it with over a minute.
Yeah, over a minute. That's totally different with Kyle Trask and the way they were moving the ball down the field. They would have had a shot.
And it's crazy. Like the worst case scenario, if you don't call the timeout, worst case scenario, you have a delay a game and you either go for it from the 7, which maybe you don't, or you just kick the point. Like that's way more. That timeout is way more valuable than those yards. It was crazy.
Yep.
I want to say he called a timeout. Didn't he call a timeout the play before the touchdown too?
He did call a timeout on that drive, which like you could argue that's
I know they had to score, but like, oof, the timeouts are so valuable at that point.
Yeah. The second one was
the 2-point conversion.
Mind-boggling.
That was worse.
That one, that's.
I had to double look. I was like, wait a second, did he really just do that? Yeah. All right. Fun game though. AAC. Not that they really had a shot anyways, but Cincy needed to have a dominant performance to get any sniff of the playoff. Didn't happen, but still an impressive unbeaten year as they were able to beat Tulsa. Tulsa made them earn it though. The Bearcat defense was stout as always. They made it hard on Zach Smith and Tulsa, but every time Cincinnati scored, Tulsa pretty much answered. They were able to tie it with a few minutes left, and Cincinnati was able to drive down in the final drive and kick a field goal as time expired. So good unbeaten season for the Bearcats.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad Nebraska didn't have to play them this year. That was one of our non-conference games. Would have got our butt whooped.
Yeah, would have had to give them an L, man. That was
sure.
Wow.
They would have been left out. Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's go to Conference USA here. We have UAB really controlled this game against Marshall. UAB's defense was stout, just like they always are. They stymied Grant Wells. He really struggled in this one as well. And UAB's offense actually played pretty well. They rushed and passed for over 200 yards. Tyler Johnston good at QB. Spencer Brown had a big day on the ground. He's a good running back for them. So they had a good solid group this year. They're really solid. Bill Clark caps off a another championship, Conference USA championship, 2 out of the last 3. Just he's got a good thing going down there, and it's another good year for them.
Okay, moving on to the MAC. Ball State won as a double-digit underdog against Buffalo, gave Buffalo their first loss 38-28. And Jarrett Patterson, who was obviously having a monster year on the ground for Buffalo, was held to 47 yards on 2.6 yards per carry. Ball State's quarterback, Drew Plitt, had a great game. And that's the Cardinals' first conference championship since 1996.
Nice.
And actually, it's been 6 straight MAC different winners in the MAC title.
Oh, wow. That's classic MAC. It seems like every year it's wide
There's
open.
no dominant team in the MAC. Like,
Yeah.
they always take turns.
Yeah, that's fun. That's good for the conference. And speaking of kind of a new winner here, the Mountain West, our San Jose State Spartans, man, they finished 7-0 after beating Boise 34-20 here. It's literally an unbelievable unbeaten turnaround season by them. Like, no one foresaw this. And in this game, they were clearly the better team. Starkel threw for 453 yards, 3 touchdowns. Their defense held Boise to 224 yards. The only reason they were in the game was because of a punt return touchdown. But San Jose State was able to cap off a couple good drives and come up with the big win.
Won every game by double digits.
We'll obviously get to their head coach, Bryan Harsin, where he's headed off to later in the episode. The Sun Belt Championship did not happen, unfortunately. Coastal Carolina had some issues with COVID. So technically it's co-champs between Coastal and Louisiana, but Coastal did beat Louisiana earlier in the season. So yeah, we kind of, I think they should be treated as the conference champion. All right, let's get to the committee rankings. So they were revealed on Sunday, and the playoff will be number 1, Alabama against number 4, Notre Dame in the Rose Bowl, which is going to be played in Dallas. And number 2, Clemson versus number 3, Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl. So did the committee get the 4 right? What do you think?
Yeah, it's they got a tough job. I do not envy them to having to make these tough choices. But in the end, I do think they went with the correct 4. I mean, obviously what we're talking about here is Notre Dame and Texas A&M. That's just the question. And, I can understand both arguments. I really can see if they put A&M in, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I can see that. They had a great year, just one loss to the best team in the country. So there's, I totally get that. But the Notre Dame on the flip side, they only had one loss to, arguably maybe the best team in the country. And they beat them also. I know it was out Trevor Lawrence, but they did beat them. So I just think the difference mainly was just that one win. Like the A&M's best win was Florida, who ended up with 3 losses. And, it was still, no doubt a good win, but Notre Dame's was Clemson. That's just a little better than Florida. So in the end, I think it came down to that. And, you're splitting hairs. It's so tough. I feel for Aggie fans because I'm sure they feel like they deserve to be in, and I can see that, but I think they got it right.
Yeah, I feel for Aggie fans too, but hey, outstanding year. No one really kind of saw them being this close to the playoffs, so I would kind of take it. And besides, the number 4 seed, it's like, you're
gonna go play Bama, right?
Yeah, it's tough. But personally, so if between Cincinnati, A&M, Notre Dame, I think they got it right. I don't really have too much of an issue with it. To me, honestly, the Irish clinched it when they went to North Carolina and kind of whipped North Carolina. That was
the second win. It's good there. Yeah,
that was really, because their defense was they were one of the only ones to be able to slow down that Tar Heel offense, and that was a very impressive win, especially considering what North Carolina ended up doing to Miami. So I think that really helped in the committee sides. A lot of convincing wins, and A&M, they had those good wins, but just they didn't have a lot of convincing wins. There were a lot of them where you kind of left a lot more to be desired. Fair, they still won the games. That's good for them, but I think that second win, like you mentioned, Mike, for Notre Dame was big.
And I think ultimately it came down to what you guys have talked about there. And I think the committee just thought, these resumes are so similar. Strength of record were number 2 and number 3. Notre Dame's slightly better strength of record. But I think they just thought, we just think Notre Dame's a little bit better, which that is totally up for debate. The predictive ratings have them neck and neck. Most have Notre Dame a little bit ahead. So, yeah, either choice would have been reasonable. And what were you going to say, Trey?
I was just going to say one point on Cincinnati. Like, Their schedule was pretty weak. The AAC was kind of a little bit down this year, which is unfortunate. It's still a good conference, but it wasn't quite as strong as it could have been. And then in their bigger games, they just squeaked by, so that didn't help them.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 They needed to
Their
dominate.
their strength of record was 7th. So I think putting them 8th. I agree. I think Florida should have been behind them just based on the resumes. But
Yep.
overall, I don't think their spot was too unreasonable. I just think we need a different system that allows an undefeated, really good team like them to be, have a chance at a championship. So that would be an 18 playoff, but it's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
Let's get to those New Year's Six bowl matchups. Which one are you most looking forward to? So we've got, other than the playoff, of course, we've got the Cotton Bowl, Oklahoma versus Florida, the Peach Bowl, Cincinnati against Georgia, Fiesta Bowl, Oregon, Iowa State, and the Orange Bowl, Texas A&M, North Carolina.
This really obviously depends on some of the players that end up opting out. But at this point, as we record this, I'm kind of between the Peach and Cotton. I'm going to lean to the Cotton, which is, of course, Oklahoma versus Florida. This game should have some fireworks. The Sooners are playing great now, arguably one of the best, playing as well as anyone, just outside of the playoff. Spencer Rattler, so fun to watch. Pitts is sitting out. We know that for Florida, but Trask and Tony still team up. That offense is still lethal. And Mullen, he's going for his 3rd New Year's Six win in a row.
Yeah, I agree with you on the Cotton Bowl. Those are the, maybe the 2 best teams, not in terms of resume, but like the 2 best teams that didn't make the playoff. You could argue A&M, a couple other teams, but I'm looking forward to the Cotton Bowl. What about you, Ryan?
I'm going to look forward to the Peach Bowl, Cincinnati versus Georgia. That one's going to be pretty cool. I mean, it kind of reminds you of the Auburn UCF matchup a few years back, where this Georgia team, they only have a couple losses, and ever since JT Daniels took over, they're undefeated, and they've looked like a completely different team. So, obviously, we don't know if everybody will be suited up and decide to play on this one. So you can't just look at this game and be like, oh, this was. Since he wins, you can't just say, oh, they should have deserved it, whatever. No, it's a 1 ball game, but I'm still looking forward to it. Georgia, I mean, what if JT Daniels was able to play from game 1? Like, they might be, they'd be in the playoff, like, arguably, maybe, like
they might have been.
They could have beat Florida, no doubt. So,
I mean, Georgia's favored 7 in this game.
Yeah.
Against Cincy. So
the other 2 losses, were Florida and Bama, right? So, and they competed pretty darn well at Bama with, not the greatest, with Stetson Bennett. So this is a good Georgia team. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Yep.
All right, let's get to the coaching carousel. We'll start with the less splashy of a hire. Bret Bielema to Illinois. What do you think, Trey?
If I'm an Illini fan, I'm now saying we've had a couple straight underwhelming hires. I understand the allure to Bielema because of his ties to the Big Ten, and his style could maybe work in the conference, but he had a pretty rough tenure at Arkansas. And when you look at Wisconsin, he inherited a really great program that seems to just kind of run itself. That system is just ingrained there. So I would have liked a guy with a little bit higher ceiling.
Totally agree. Yeah, I would want a young, up-and-coming guy, maybe someone who runs an exciting offense, not someone who seems to be on his way down in his career. He peaked at Wisconsin. Arkansas wasn't as bad, I think, as some people have made it out to be. He had a couple decent years there, but still ended up, it wasn't good, and he got fired. And now he's taking a lower job. And I mean, it could work. Like, I think he can recruit probably decently, and it's not like he's a bad coach, but it's just not that exciting to me.
It's not that exciting, but I do think it could work out okay. I'm not probably as low as you guys are. I think he's a good fit for the conference. I don't think that Arkansas maybe was the best fit for him and what he's trying to do. But he had 3 winning seasons there. He took over a bad program. His first year was rough, which is expected. Then had 3 straight winning seasons, and last year didn't go that well. But I still think there's some upside to this, maybe more than what you guys let on. Illinois can. I mean, they ran the ball pretty well, decent this year actually. So I think Illinois can work with Bielema,
and he's respected. So we'll see what
kind of staff he's able to I'm not like in love with the hire or anything, but there's definitely some upside there.
All right. How about Auburn now? So this was kind of a wild search. At least the reporting around it was wild. And they were reportedly turned down by Billy Napier, a few other guys, and kind of out of nowhere today, as we record this, hired Bryan Harsin from Boise State as their next head coach. And it's an interesting hire. He's not from the South. He went to school at Boise. He's coached there most of his career. He was a coordinator at Texas for a couple of years, was the head coach at Arkansas State for 1 year, actually followed Gus there. He was the coach after Gus, which is interesting. But yeah, I mean, to me, this is a fine hire. Like I would be hard pressed I think you'd be hard pressed to find anyone calling this a bad hire. He did a good job at Boise State. He took over a really good program that first Dirk Cutter and Dan Hawkins and Chris Peterson, all kind of had built up, and he sustained it. I mean, he didn't take it to the heights that Chris Peterson did before him, but that's a pretty high bar. So he did really well. Yeah. But I don't know. I just am not super excited about it. I probably would have just kept 20 million and stuck with Gus Malzahn for 1 year because but it could work out.
Yeah, it's a little surprising. I mean, the Harsin's name had always come up for the last few years, and you kind of figured he would take some job at some point. So I guess maybe it shouldn't be that surprising that he's taken a job, and why not Auburn, I guess. But it just seems like it's like you said, he's not a Southeast guy. I'm not saying that it won't work because of that, but it just seems a little bit like, okay, they didn't get their top guys. And what happened with Napier? I feel like that was just the clear cut guy that you had to get if you're Auburn. I guess Hugh Freeze didn't even get any consideration, maybe, but
didn't seem like it. Reportedly, with Napier, it was that maybe they were trying to force some assistance on him. I mean, this is all kind of scuttlebutt. It seems like who knows? Maybe the real story will come out someday. But it seems like for whatever reason, I think if they gave Napier everything he wanted, he would be the head coach. It feels like.
Yeah, that just doesn't make sense to me. That you would, I don't know. I just feel like they would have to go for Bill Napier and kind of let him do his thing. But I don't know. I think Harsin could work out. Like you said, he did have a good tenure at Boise. It's not like when he took over from Boise, it was a good shape, but they had went 8-5 the year before he got there. So it wasn't like they were coming off of their, Fiesta Bowl win where they're insane. So, and kept it going for 7 years, which is pretty darn good. Yep. So yeah, good work.
Yeah. I mean, when I thought of Harsin going because there was rumors of him being in line for the Arizona job, and I was thinking that's a great hire for Arizona, but Auburn's it's a different beast. You guys touch on it. He doesn't really know the footprint of the SEC. And then Michael, you mentioned the costs. It seems aggressive. I mean, at Boise, you guys talk about he did sustain the run at Boise, and I'd be maybe curious to talk to some more true Boise fans. But his first year when he inherited Chris Peterson's program, they actually won the Fiesta Bowl. Awesome season, of course. But then after that, it was always 2-3 plus losses where it was like he just didn't quite get to the they were almost underwhelming seasons by Boise standards, which is a high bar. So I don't know. It's a big step forward, and who knows if it can work. I mean, it's so hard to predict these things, but he's not a bad hire. It's just surprising, all things considered.
Yep, totally.
Okay, and there's tons of other news happening in college football right now. LSU rehauling its staff on both sides of the ball. Dan Mullen committed recruiting violations, got in trouble there. Don Brown is out at Michigan as defensive coordinator. We'll have time to get to those things in the offseason, but we got bowl games, guys.
Yeah.
Boom.
So let's recap there's been 3 bowl games as we record this now. Let's recap each of those.
Sure. So first was the Myrtle Beach Bowl on Monday. It had App State and North Texas. North Texas had no interest in playing defense. Cameron Peoples set a bull rushing record of 319 yards. I watched most of this game, and every time I looked up, he was just gashing and going through this mean green defense. He had 5 touchdowns. Mountaineers won 56-28 against a sub 500 North Texas.
It was the nice green defense today.
I was thinking that in my head too, Ryan. And I said, you know what? That's stupid. I'm not going to say it. All right. On Tuesday, we had the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, which is earlier today as we record this. Nevada beat Tulane 38-27. Carson Strong had a big game at quarterback, 5 touchdowns, no picks, to cap off a 7-2 season for Nevada under Jay Norvell. Very impressive season. He's going to be, he might be a candidate at Boise State.
Or Boise. Yeah.
We didn't even talk about Boise State's opening. That's obviously a good job. I know Kellen Moore is one name that's being thrown around Twitter right now. That makes a lot of sense.
Sure does.
Andy Avalos, D coordinator at Oregon.
Yeah.
Previously at Boise. So
yeah.
There you go.
They got some good candidates already. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's go with the game that just finished up here not too long ago. The Boca Raton Bowl, UCF.
Can you please give the sponsor, Ryan? Come on.
Roofclaim.com.
They paid good money for that.
Boca Raton Bowl. UCF and BYU. This one was not a football game. It was a track meet. Well, for BYU, really. This was a blowout. BYU completely dominated. They're 49-10 at one point. UCF scored a couple of meaningless touchdowns later. This was just annihilation. UCF didn't belong on the same field as BYU. Zach Wilson is good, in case you didn't know.
This quarterback class is getting ridiculous with all the NFL draft class. There's going to be like 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round. I don't follow that stuff very much, but
yeah,
it seems like it.
If he's like 3rd or 4th, I saw McShay had him like 4th. It's like, wow, it's pretty darn good.
Okay, let's get to our picks for the upcoming bowls in the next week, and we'll start on Wednesday. We've got the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. Louisiana Tech taking on Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern's favored 5.5.
Louisiana Tech, they've won a bowl game 6 years in a row under Skip Holtz. It's amazing. Never would have guessed that. But I'm going to take the points with them because Georgia Southern quarterback Shai Wertz, he's doubtful as we record this. He really moves their option style offense. Backup is also kind of listed as questionable at this point, but he should give it a go. Louisiana Tech has a win over UAB earlier in the year, and I think they can cover the 5.5.
Okay, I'm going to take Georgia Southern because, Luke Anthony at quarterback hurt for Louisiana Tech, their top receiver opting out. I'll take Georgia Southern because even if Shai Wertz can't go, they've played reasonably well without him. So, and most of their 5 losses this year were close ones against good teams. So I don't think they're as bad as their record.
They were.
I agree. I'm taking Georgia Southern here too. And they're a run heavy offense, and so I still think the backup comes in, and that offense will still work, function pretty well even without Shai Wertz in there. I know Shai Wertz is good. There's no doubt about that, but they've proven to be a good solid team this year. So I'll agree with there.
Montgomery Bowl, Memphis -8 against Florida Atlantic. I'm going to take Memphis. They had a disappointing season, I think, by their standards, partially because of Kenneth Gainwell opting out before the year. Later, DeMonte Coxie opting out as well. But the offense was still pretty good. Brady White had a solid year. He's got some good receivers still. Calvin Austin, Sean Dykes at tight end. And I think FAU's 5-3 record is misleading. They had one of the easiest schedules in the country. Their quarterbacks struggled big time this year. They do have a good defense under Jim Leavitt. He's done a good job there. They really get after the quarterbacks, but I don't think they'll be able to keep up offensively.
Yeah, I'm taking Memphis here as well. They still got a good group there, and Florida Atlantic, like you said, Mike. If you look at their schedule, it is brutal. It's not good. So Memphis is still the class here. I think they'll win by more than 8. So give me the Tigers.
Yeah, I'm going to lay the points as well. I don't think they're overly hyped to be here, but I just don't think FAU has the firepower to keep up.
Yeah, and FAU's lost their last 2 games pretty badly, so not coming in hot.
Let's go to Christmas Eve on Thursday. We got the New Mexico Bowl, Hawaii against Houston. The Cougars are favored 13.
Yeah, it's the only game on Christmas Eve, and I think this is the only game, period, like in any sport. No NBA, no NFL, college hoops, nothing. This is it. So everybody's tuning in to watch this one. I'm going to take Hawaii. Houston's defense doesn't really scare me. I think Hawaii quarterback Cordero, he's gonna He could have a solid day. He's got some. He's had some pretty good games, and he's also had some games like
Yeah.
not quite that great. But he can beat you with his legs as well. He's got some good dual threat ability. So I'll still take my chances with the Rainbow Warriors here. That's a lot of points.
And this game it's the New Mexico Bowl, and they're playing it in Frisco, Texas. They had to move it because of COVID. But I was bullish on Houston, but this year, but they just didn't quite live up to it. Obviously, there was some COVID issues, totally not totally their fault. But apparently, Houston's going to be without 15 to 20 players due to academic eligibility requirements. Stud wideout Marquez Stevenson isn't playing. Just too many bad things for me to lay that many points. So I'm going to say Cordero and Hawaii keep it within the number.
All right, I'm going to go with Houston. I like the way they played against Memphis a couple weeks ago, and Hawaii's offense, it's just not the same as it was under Nick Rolovich. Todd Graham,
No.
I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great.
Yep, that's true.
Friday, we got Christmas Day, the Camellia Bowl, Marshall against Buffalo. Buffalo's favored 3, Trey.
Patterson's expected to play after that dirty Gator roll tackle that knocked him out of the
I forgot to bring that up.
But this is a tough game because both these teams coming in losers of their conference championships. I'm going to lay the points with Buffalo because Marshall just seemed to turn into a different team the last couple games. Grant Wells looked nothing like he did earlier in the year. He threw 5 picks in their shutout loss to Rice, huge upset. Then he was 8 for 24 against UAB. UAB put up over 200 yards rushing on them. That's what Buffalo does. Even if Patterson isn't 100%, they got Marks. Van Treese has been a better passer than I thought. So I think Buffalo gets it done.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can't bet Marshall right now. The way they've looked the last 2 games, I don't know what happened to their offense, but
it's brutal. I 100% agree. And I agree so much that I'm going to make Buffalo my lock. I think they're going to run wild, and then they'll also just let Grant Wells throw the ball to them.
All right.
Yeah.
On Saturday, we have the FBC Mortgage Cure Bowl. Very good game here. Liberty against Coastal Carolina. Chanticleers are favored 6.5. I'm going to take Liberty with the points. I think they showed against Virginia Tech earlier in the year that they can go up in class and compete. Even losing by 1 at NC State is not a bad result. So I don't think they're totally just a product of an easy schedule. They've been very good. Malik Willis has been basically as impressive as Grayson McCall. So this is a great quarterback matchup.
Yeah, it is a great quarterback matchup, and I'm going to go with the other quarterback. I'll go with Coastal Carolina and Grayson McCall. I think they just have the defense a little bit this year too to kind of maybe put a little bit of a stop here on Malik Willis and company. And their ground game is impressive. Coastal Carolina, I love their offense. It's so creative. It's just a fun group to watch, and then they bring it every game. I love this Chanticleer team. I know they're going to come ready to go, so I'll take the Chants, man.
Yeah, and as we record this, there's a lot of rumors surrounding Hugh Freeze. If he's going to leave, he could go to some job by the time this rolls around, by the game rolls around. But I'm going to take our Chants. I can't go against them in this final game. Their dream season finishes with a W, and I hate the transitive property, but Coastal's win versus BYU looks really more impressive now. The way BYU just thrashed UCF. So I'm going to take the Chants.
All right, Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. Oh, wait a second. This one
UAB won.
Yeah.
UAB won. Yeah. No, it's South Carolina has COVID issues, so they had to cancel this one, unfortunately. So we move on to the next one. The Serve Pro First Responder Bowl. Louisiana is favored 13 against UTSA. What do you think, Trey?
UTSA they got in this game because their original bowl game got canceled, so they did some shuffling. They're here now. They're gunning for their 8th win, which would be a program record. They had a very poor schedule, but still a very good year for the Roadrunners.
Any win's a win for a Roadrunner program.
Yeah, I mean, they were much better.
They improved. Player to watch for them is Sincere McCormick. Unfortunately for them, though, they're going up against the Co-Sun Belt champs, as we talked about earlier, led by Billy Napier. He's staying put. I think he's going to unload the bag of tricks in the bowl game with Levi Lewis. The Raging Cajuns, I think they'll flex their muscle. They have the superior offense and defense. I'm going to actually make Louisiana my lock.
Yeah, they've got a ton of talent on that team compared to UTSA. And Billy Napier staying put. I just feel like that's got to just really rally the crew. So, yeah, I'll go with them.
I agree, and it just kind of reminds me of the App State, another Sun Belt team going up against when App State whooped up on North Texas. Kind of giving me a little familiar feel with this matchup. So I think Louisiana will certainly flex their muscle and win big. I'll take them too.
The Lending Tree Bowl, we've got Western Kentucky against Georgia State. Panthers are favored 4.5. Georgia State's played in a lot of close games this year, so I don't think I'm willing to lay 4.5 points, especially against a team that's got a really good defense. And I didn't realize how many tough games Western Kentucky had on their schedule, because it was a disappointing year for them. The first year under Tyson Helton was excellent, and this year kind of was down. But their losses were to Liberty, Louisville, Marshall, BYU, UAB, and FAU. Like, that's all solid teams. I mean, you don't want to lose to all of them, but still, it could be worse.
Sure.
The offense is bad. That side of the ball is definitely bad. The team isn't, but the offense is. But at least they take care of the ball really well.
Yeah.
Leads me to a trivia zone.
Okay.
2009 Nebraska.
I'm going to ask you a trivia question here.
Trivia.
Doesn't matter what it is, you have answers.
Zone.
When you ask me those kind of questions, it really pisses me off.
Trivia zone.
All right, so Western Kentucky quarterback Tyrell Pigram has 9 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions this year. Only one player since 2000 has thrown more than 9 touchdowns in a season without throwing an interception, and that player is active. He didn't do it this year, though. He did it a couple years ago. Who is that player? And I'm just going to give a quick brag here. I predicted this before I looked it up.
So you got the question right.
I got it right. Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Thank you. Because I remembered it. I remembered it happening a couple years ago. Another hint that we have brought his name up on this podcast.
But we've brought his name up on this podcast?
Yeah.
I would hope so. We're a college football podcast.
No, I mean, like, literally this episode.
Oh.
He had 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, like I said.
We brought his name up.
Did Kyle Trask do it?
No,
because he had Felipe. What the?
I'll give you a hint. It was an option style offense.
Shy Wirtz.
It was Shy Wirtz.
Wow.
Exactly. For Georgia Southern in 2018. Yeah, 10 touchdowns, 0 picks. I remember talking about that before their bowl game or at the end of the season.
Wow.
So, okay. I think even more impressive is that Pigram has 264 pass attempts this season. That's the most by far of anyone with.
Because he can't really throw that well.
Well, he doesn't throw it to the other team.
Yeah, exactly. Throws it bad enough to make it incomplete.
It's way off. No, but anyway, so that's the most. Of course, if he finishes it out in this game. The second most pass attempts in a season without an interception is 117. By which player this year? And I'll give you a hint. It's a backup quarterback. So a player this year is second on this list. He has 117 pass attempts, 0 picks. Not quite 264 like Pigram, but not bad. Backup quarterback for a very good team.
Who's really good team. So
the starter for this team was out for I guess a couple games due to COVID.
Was it Uyunglele?
It was DJ Uyunglele.
I knew he passed it a bunch against like Boston College and Notre Dame.
I thought he threw one pick against Notre Dame.
He didn't. Isn't that crazy that he's second on this list?
Wow.
Most attempts without an interception.
Freshman.
So other guys on the list, Brock Osweiler for ASU in 2010 was down lower on the list. Skylar Howard for West Virginia, 2014. And another one this year, 13th since 2000 with the most pass attempts in a season with 0 picks. In an unbelievable turn of events is Art Sitkowski. Rutgers.
Whoa.
81 pass attempts, 0 picks. Way to go,
Art. Last laugh.
Yeah. Okay, so now you guys make your picks in this game. That was the trivia zone.
I'm gonna take Georgia State. I like Cornelius.
That's I just gave about Pigram. You just go against it. Unbelievable.
Screw it. No, I like Cornelius Brown. I think he's the better quarterback in this matchup, even though you just talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a freshman. He's looked really good. He's gotten better as the years gone on. They won 3 out of their last 4 games, and their only loss was a close one at App State. They're playing well. I like this group. I'm going to take the Panthers.
I'm going to take the points with the Hilltoppers. Defensive end D'Angelo Malone is going to get he wreaked havoc this year. He's going to get your boy Cornelius Brown, Ryan. They finished the year with 3 straight wins. I think they'll cover the points here.
All right. By the way, Quad Brown, I think he goes by often. And Trey, that's going to be, Trey Quad. Just it works out. You're going with him. Or no, you're going against him. My bad.
Next in line.
Cheez-It Bowl. We got on next Tuesday, Oklahoma State is -2 against Miami. We can only hope it lives up to the Cheez-It Bowl of 2017.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
TCU and Cal. Yeah.
Wow, forgot about that one. I hadn't thought about that game for a while.
Yeah.
Got to revisit
It's
that one
scarred.
on YouTube. Yeah. This should be good. I don't. Both offenses are not coming in hot here. Miami, of course, just got throttled in their last game, which was a surprise in their defense. What happened to that? I mean, I know North Carolina had a really good group, but that one they just decided not to show up. So Oklahoma State's going to be without Chuba Hubbard. Of course, he decided to prepare for the NFL draft. Don't blame him. I'm going to go with the U. I'll take the points. Oklahoma State's offense is certainly not North Carolina's offense. They don't scare me, especially without Chuba. So I'll take my chances with the U and De'Aaron King.
This is such a toss-up. Okie State, you mentioned Hubbard. They also have a corner and an O-lineman sitting out. Tylan Wallace, he's questionable after missing the last game. Then Miami, though, defensive ends Quincy Roche and Jalen Phillips are opting out. Sounds like as of now, De'Aaron King's going to play. So I'm going to take the Canes. I think Diaz even said they're going to kind of basically treat this as a reboot because they were a really good team most of the year. I think they just kind of gave up in that North Carolina game because they were out of the ACC title race. And the Cowboys, you just never know what you're going to get with them week to week. So I'm going to flip a coin and take Miami.
Yeah, I agree. Without those guys on that offense for Oklahoma State, especially with Tylan Wallace, even if he's healthy, feels like definitely a potential for him to just opt out. So I'll take De'Aaron King to outscore the Cowboys. Okay, we got the Valero Alamo Bowl. Texas is a 13-point favorite against Colorado. What do you think, Trey?
Yeah, Texas, they won this game last year against Utah. You got the old Big 12 foes. Colorado, they're definitely more excited to be in this game, but Texas didn't live up to their expectations. But I don't think Colorado is all that great. They just lost by 17 at home to Utah. They only played a handful of games. They also just lost their best defensive player, Nate Landman, linebacker, to an ankle injury. Ellinger, I think, would love to finish his career off in style. Herman's great in bowl games. I think the Longhorns roll.
Is he finishing his career? Is that a sure?
Yeah, maybe another
Not
year.
a sure thing, but it seems like it.
Seems like most seniors are treating this as their last year.
Yeah, we'll see. But
I would be like, no, I'm coming back. I want to stay.
It'll be a fun off season. It's going to be a fun off season seeing those guys. Who stays and goes.
Tom Herman 3-0 in bowl games at Texas, so that's why he's so secure in his job there. But I don't know. I'm going to go against them with all the COVID issues they're having, some injuries and opt-outs. Not sure they're going to have their full roster, especially in the secondary. So I don't count on them to blow out at least a decent Colorado team. I'm gonna make Colorado actually my lock.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Michael here. I mean, I don't love Colorado this year, but they obviously had some good moments. They went 4-1, and like you said, Trey, I'm sure they're going to be pumped here to go up against Texas. I think Colorado will be ready to go, and I could see Texas being a little sluggish in this one. So yeah, I'll take the bus.
That's a very good point.
2 more games to go. We're now next Wednesday. We won't go over the New Year's 6 game that day. We'll take care of that next week. But got the Duke's Mayo Bowl, great name. Wake Forest against Wisconsin. The Badgers are favored 6.5, and Wisconsin's defense has been living up to the hype for the most part this year. But that offense after game 2 has just fallen off a cliff. Injuries at receiver have certainly not helped, and Graham Mertz has, I guess, regressed, maybe you'd call it, but again, not his full assortment of weapons, and just suffered a concussion last week against Minnesota. So with those health questions and going up against just a solid Wake Forest team. Your classic Wake Forest. Sam Hartman takes care of the ball. He had a good year. I'll take the points.
I agree. I just can't go with the Badgers to cover more than a touchdown here when they are, but they're just struggling to move the ball. I know Wake isn't exactly stifling on defense, but the Badgers Graham Mertz just seems like totally off. So, Sam Hartman, I know Wisconsin has a very, very good defense, but they have some weapons. You definitely have, and Dave Clawson knows how to move the football. They have some entertaining games. I think this will be one of the more entertaining games of the bowl season. I expect this one to be a nail biter, but I'll take the Demon Deacs.
Yeah, I mean the Badgers should win, but I think Wake's a little hungrier for this one. It's not going to help. They're without Carlos Basham. He's out. He's going to the league. But if the Deacs win, it's obviously because their offense. I'm going to take the points because I don't think the Badgers could keep up if it ends up being needing to score a game.
Yep.
Trans Perfect Music City Bowl. Iowa is a 15-point favorite against Missouri. What do you think about that, Ryan?
Yeah, that's a pretty big spread right there for Missouri, who had a solid season in the SEC. Connor Basilick had a good first year at quarterback.
At times.
Well, I didn't say it was great, but some good moments. They won some games, man. They did.
Yeah.
Iowa, though, has won 6 in a row. Their defense is really good. The most points they've given up this year is 24, which is just kind of unheard of in today's game. As a Nebraska fan, I envy that. How many times have we not given up 30? It's probably the opposite stat. So I'm going to take them. I know Iowa doesn't have the greatest offense in the world, but they still have some pieces. They run the ball well, and that defense will just probably shut down Missouri and Connor Basilick.
This one's really hard because Iowa just had to shut down their program for a week with COVID, but I'm just kind of rolling with the assumption that they say they're going to be good to go. So they've arguably been playing the best in the Big Ten outside of Ohio State. They have a top 10 defense. You got Chauncey Golston on the line. I think they'll be able to slow down Missouri. They're not known for their offense, but Missouri has a pretty poor defense. Iowa's been gashing people. I'm going to give the points with the Hawkeyes.
Yep. All right, I'm going the other way. Just like you mentioned, all the COVID issues. Kirk Ferentz tested positive, right? And so we're not even totally sure at this point that the game will be played. But if it is, you got to think there's going to be some guys out. So give me Missouri. Okay, well, that's it. Wow,
boom,
a lot of bowl games. Boom,
abrupt ending.
Yeah, that is it for this episode. Thanks for listening to the College Football Bros podcast. But be sure to check us out on YouTube. Like I said, we're really trying to grow that aspect along with the podcast. So we'd appreciate it if you check out we're releasing 5 videos the next week? Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Let's do it. So again, appreciate you watching those. And we will talk to you next week when we preview the New Year's 6 bowls and, of course, the playoff.
Boom. You guys like my craft room background, by the way?
Nice really background for the YouTube viewers.
Yeah,
New place for Ryan.
Got some quilts hanging up and some tools. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Bye.
You've been watching the College Football Bros. Be sure to subscribe here on YouTube and in your podcast app for college football content all year round. For bonus episodes and access to our Discord chat, join our Patreon at patreon.com/collegefootballbros. Thanks for watching.